Good morning, students, and welcome you all back to Zenith Tutorials. Today, we're going to talk about civics. In civics, we're going to speak about chapter the Union Executive President and the Vice President. So this chapter is going to be divided into two parts. About 90% we're going to talk about President, and about 5 to 10% we're going to talk about the Vice President of our country. So let's start with the president of our country, what different powers he has, how he or she is elected, how he or she can be removed, when they can exercise their power. These are the topics that we're going to cover in this entire lecture. So here we go. So let us understand India. India is a democratic country. India is divided into, it is called as Union Executive, under which there is a president, a vice president, and a prime minister, which is the head for council of ministers. Now let's look at president. This is the major part of this lecture, the major part of this topic. So president is the head of the state, supreme commander of the defense forces of our union. So he is the main commander. He is the head for all the three wings of our army: the navy, the land army, and the air force. President exercises his or her power on the advice of the prime minister. So without the advice of the prime minister and the council of ministers, the president is not allowed to exercise his or her power. So now look at the qualification. What are the qualification and the eligibility criteria for somebody to become a president of our country? He or she has to be citizen of India. Second, he or she has to be minimum 35 years of age. He or she should be qualified as a citizen to stand for the election in Lok Sabha. And there is one major point which is a disqualification. If he or she holds up office of profit, which means they run a business or they have a job somewhere, they will not be allowed. They will be in fact disqualified from being a president of our country. Now let's look at election of president, its composition, and the method that India adopts to elect its president. So president, unlike a prime minister or a cabinet minister, president is elected indirectly. So we'll explain you what it means, what you mean by electing a president indirectly. A president is elected by the electoral college of members of both the houses of the parliament, the lower and the upper, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. Elected members of the Legislative Assembly of State also plays a very, very important role in selecting the president of our country. This is the state assemblies. Election is based on proportional representation and a single transferable vote system. Now let's look at the composition. Nominated members of either house and the state assembly, the nominated members of the state assembly are not allowed to elect the president of our country. Now, a presidential candidate, if he or she has to become a president, what he or she needs in terms of a legislature to be proposed, they should be proposed by 50 members of the electoral college, which is the MPs and the MLAs. There should be minimum 50 members who should propose their name. They should be seconded by another 50 members. So you understood? 50 members of the legislature of our electoral college, which is the MPs and the MLAs, have to propose their name, and they have to be seconded by another 50 members. And the candidate has to deposit a minimum amount of 15,000 to stand for the election of a president. Now, as I explained you earlier, to become a president, you have to go to an indirect election process. Now let us talk about what is indirect election. Now why cannot they be elected directly? If they are elected directly, they will become the rival center of power of Council of Ministers. They will rival the Prime Minister, which is elected directly. Hence, president has to be elected indirectly. It is against the parliamentary system with ministerial responsibility if you go directly. Members in both the houses, which is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, could be from one single party. So there could be a domination of one single party, correct? Hence, the president, if it comes from a ruling party, like the prime minister, it does not gel well with the democratic system of a country. Such a president cannot represent the constituent states of the union of our country. So you understood. So hence, indirect election is the way to elect the president of India. Now let's look at the term of the office. For how long a president can be there? A president has to be there for minimum 5 years or till his or her successor take charge. So there could be a possibility that even after 5 years, there is no successor, they will continue till the successor takes charge. He or she, any existing president, can re-stand for election. It is not compulsory that they can have only one term. They can have multiple terms continuous. His or her office can become vacant if they resign or they are removed through the process of impeachment, which we will study going forward. So a president can be removed. Okay. Now let's look at the oath of the office. The president takes the oath in presence of the Chief Justice of our country. Now let's look at the procedure for impeachment. The president can be impeached for violation of constitution. So if he or she goes against our constitution, they can be impeached. Okay. Resolution has to be moved 14 days after a notice in writing is given, and it has to be backed by not less than 1/4 of the total number of members of the House. So that after the impeachment notice, which is in writing, after the 14 days, there is 1/4 of the members of the House has to second that impeachment, that notice. Resolution has to be passed by majority of not less than 2/3 of the total member of the House. Once the resolution is put into place for the impeachment of the president, minimum requirement of the majority is 2/3 of the members of the House has to support that resolution to impeach the president. So the other process of impeachment is if the charge has been preferred by one of the houses and the other house will investigate that charge. Example, if Rajya Sabha has preferred this charge of violation of constitution by the president, the Lok Sabha will investigate this charge. And then the resolution has to be passed, as I explained to you earlier, by 2/3 of the majority of the House. Then only the president can be impeached. So this is a procedure for impeaching the president of our country. Now let's look at the powers of the president. The first power, executive powers. All executive orders inside the parliament is issued in the name of the president. He or she makes appointment of certain key officials of our country, like the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers, Cabinet Ministers, Chief Attorney General of India, Chief Justice of India, and also the judges of High Court and Supreme Court. He or she also runs the state government when there is president rule which is applied on the state government. He or she also administers union territories and border areas. So that this also falls under the power of the president. These are executive powers. Now let's look at the second, which is the legislative powers. He or she addresses the parliament for the first time after the general election has taken place. So once the general election takes place and the assembly comes into the play, he or she addresses the parliament for the first time after the elections. Second, he summons or prorogues the house. He addresses the house. Third, which is very important, which is very beautiful very beautiful thing of our country. He or she is also responsible for selecting 12 members for Rajya Sabha from different categories. Okay, he can nominate them. Okay, he has the powers. Second, similarly, he has the power to nominate two Anglo-Indian members from the Anglo-Indian community, two members from the Anglo-Indian community into the Lok Sabha if they are not equally represented. He or she also gives assent to the bill which are proposed in the Lok Sabha. Now, very important, he or she also has a power to dissolve the Lok Sabha in terms if there is no majority if there is no party which has absolute majority. Formation of states, new formation of states, and assertion of area also falls under the president. These are legislative powers. Now let's look at third, which is the financial powers. Introduction of money bill into the house, presentation of the financial budget, though it is announced by the finance minister, it is done only after the assent of the president. Appointment of financial commission of every 5 years to look into the financial running of the country. So I hope you understood what is financial powers. Now let's look at the judicial powers. President is not answerable to any court of law. No criminal suit can be initiated against the president. President has the power to grant pardons, reprieve, respite or remission of punishment which is given to any individual, which means any individual has a right who's been given a punishment to apply to the president even after the Supreme Court has gone against him or her. Now let's look at the discretionary power. Appointment of Prime Minister and in case of hung parliament is also under the purview of the president. As I explained earlier, in legislative powers, he or she has a power to dissolve the Lok Sabha if there is no majority, there is no party which has absolute majority. Now let's look at the military power. As explained earlier, he is the supreme commander for all the three armed forces, with the land force, navy and the air force. And he or she also has the power to declare a war and bring peace when the war is actually happening. Now let's look at the diplomatic power. President has the power to appoint Indian ambassadors to other countries. He or she receives ambassador, high commission and commissioner and diplomatic envoys of other countries that visit India. All treaties and international agreements are signed and presided by the president of a country, and he or she also represents India in international conferences. Now let's look at the emergency power. We're going to talk about only one emergency power which is of very critical importance. He or she can proclaim emergency, national or general emergency in the country. Now president is also responsible for breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state. If the governance of the state is not according to the provision of the constitution, the president has a right to get involved and to levy president rule on certain states. Example, the first president rule in our country was imposed on Punjab in 1951, and in 1977, when the emergency happened in our country, the president thought or decided that 9 states were not functioning according to the constitution of our country. So there were 9 states on which the president had imposed president rule. The president is also responsible for financial emergency. So if any state or the country is not working as per the financial constitution of the country, the president has the power to levy financial emergency. Now, what are its effects? Okay, the president has a right to reduce salary of certain employees or of all employees across the sectors, including judges of High Court and Supreme Court. The president has a power to appoint financial commission and to look into the financial irregularities going on in the country. So, president plays a very important role during any emergency. So, he or she is the ultimate authority that our country or our constitution has given to them. So, let's look at the position of a president. It is a position of great honor, prestige and very, very high dignity. President is above normal process of law. Executive powers of the union is vested upon him and he has a power to exercise them. Right to be informed for all important decisions in the running of the country. And coalition government is a discretionary power in when there's a coalition government, he has a discretionary power to elect chief minister or the prime minister of a country. Now let's look at the limitation. There is one very, very big limitation for our president of our country, that any decision that he or she makes has to be taken only on the advice of the council of ministers. So he or she cannot do any decision unless until it is advised by the council of ministers, which is headed by the prime minister. So student, this was in brief that we covered everything about the president of our country. Now we'll look into the vice president of our country. It's a very small topic. It's not covered in detail for you for this curriculum, but let's look at some important points. The qualification. Like the president, he or she has to also be citizen of India, 35 years of age, qualified to stand for the election in any Lok Sabha, and if he or she has any office of profit, then they are disqualified from the nomination of being a vice president of India. Now, how he or she is selected, the vice president? Again, the electoral college consisting of members of both houses of parliament. Election is held in accordance with the system of proportion. Well, now what is the term for vice president? They are also for 5 years. They can resign by writing to the president of our country. They can be removed if there is any violation of the constitution, again by the process of impeachment, which is the same process like the president of our country. And they continue to hold office even after 5 years till the successor takes over. Now let's look at the power and functions. He or she is an ex-officio chairman to the Rajya Sabha. His office takes over the president's role in case of death of a president, resignation or removal of the president of our country. He or she discharges function when president is unable to discharge his or her function owing to absence, illness or any other reasons. So the vice president becomes the president if the president of office is vacant, could be for any reason. So student, this was all about president and the vice president of our country. We studied in brief detail how they can be elected, they can be impeached, why it is indirect election for them, and what is the process for indirect election, what powers they have, how they control the army of our country. So the president and the vice president is a very, very important element in running of our country in a very, very democratic way. If you like our video, please share, follow and subscribe. Thank you and happy learning.